All right, it's time for us to look at our newspapers. This morning, we'll be starting off with the Nigerian Tribune. On the front page of the paper this morning, the big story says, defections, panic in APC, Adamu pacifies senators. Panic in APC, Adamu pacifies senators. That's on page 2. At the top of the paper, Peter Obi, Wike meet in Rivers. This is on page 25, and there'll be lots of people asking, why are they meeting? Is there going to be some sort of merger? We're going to see more defections. We're going to see a unity. You know, we've been talking about politics and the fact that as much as we thought that Wike wasn't upset, or as much as PDP claimed that he wasn't upset by the fact that Ifeanyi Okowa did get the ticket for vice presidency, but it seems like he's been upset, and we don't know what is going to happen from here. NUT rejects Kaduna's government sacking of 2,357 teachers on page 2. Threatens nationwide strike. This is not the first time we're seeing a mass sacking of teachers in Kaduna. A few years ago, they were made to undergo a primary test, a very basic test of Salgi, and they failed woefully, and they were all fired. Now, the conversation was, again, how would you render these people jobless? But then you're thinking again of the quality
of education.
Exactly, the quality of education and what these children need to learn.
Yeah.
You know, it's really a catch-22.
Absolutely.
And we're hoping that some sort of sanity is brought into the education sector, not just in Kaduna, but in the nation and on the continent. Over 20 Chibok girls still in Sambisa Forest, and this is said by rescued victims on page 30. Sad one there. We are disposed to extension of CVR, says INEC on page 2. Page 8 says over 16 million involved in child labor in Nigeria. We have been talking about that on Breakfast Central, and we will continue to talk about it. Recent attack on churches meant to cause religious stress. This is said by President Muhammadu Buhari on page 2. 24 states got 477 billion naira refund for expenses on projects. The details of that's on page 2. And this is a very sad note to end the review of the Nigerian Tribune. Headless body of abducted ex-Anambra lawmaker found. We have been talking about the story. The headless body of the kidnapped Anambra State physically challenged politician Mr. Nelson Achukwu has been found by his relatives. It was gathered that the decapitated body of him was found between the boundary of Uke and Ukpo communities in Nnewi. What a sad story, a sad way to round up, but that's all that I have on the Nigerian Tribune. Let's head over to the next paper.
It's really shocking, because two things. First of all, the Southeast has never seen things like this. A lot of people can, join, different arguments here and there, but I think the biggest part of this whole thing is the fact that the Southeast has never, maybe aside, the Civil War, has never seen
outright killings of this
so gruesome, like this. I remember, that, a couple of years ago in the 90s, there was, the Bakassi boys, and, that was a little bit more violent than normal. But the Southeast has never woken up to hear about beheadings, and so it's really, really just mind-blowing how these things are happening.
It's just a reminder to us that we cannot have an ostrich in the sand approach thinking, it's only happening in one part of the country.
Absolutely.
So long as it's not getting it, it's spreading. It's spreading, and it is just like an infection. The moment it gets to one part of the body, you don't treat it. It spreads to all, the whole part of the body, and at some point it might get cause severe damage, which is where we are at right now.
And another scary thing, because I remember, I listened to a podcast on, ISIS, and its growth in Afghanistan and and those places. And I remember one thing that the Daryl Cooper said, that they would kill you. The pain that you will suffer when you die, when ISIS was a big thing then, was really dependent on their level of creativity.
Wow.
And so, yes. And so, if this isn't, put to check now, we're going to see it get worse. Now we're hearing about beheadings. It will get worse. Anyway, let's move on to First News. Newspapers this morning is what we can find over there. The big one there says 2023, why Igbo will vote Atiku, not Peter Obi, and that's from, former Senator Ike Ekweremadu. Of course, it also says here, like we just shared, the gunmen behead ex-Anambra lawmaker after collecting 15 million naira ransom. IPOB dismisses Buhari's pipeline vandalism allegation, says it's laughable. And Senate wades into CJN and Supreme Court justices spat. We spoke a little bit about that yesterday. Benue financially broke, can't pay workers' salaries, says Governor Otom. And Ngige promises to end ASU strike soon.
Sorry? Take that again.
Ngige promises to end ASU strike soon.
Wow.
Yeah.
It couldn't be earlier. Very perfect timing.
No. All right, we can also find here how we escaped Boko Haram captivity after 8 years as insurgents' wives. And that's from Chibok schoolgirls. Voter registration may continue despite deadline, says INEC. And also APC senators' defection worries Adamu as ruling party's chairman meets lawmakers and moves to stop trend. We can also find here Senate to screen Buhari's new ministers on the 29th of June. And kidnappers fined us 1 million naira for paying ransom late. Wow. There's a freed Katsina couple.
Wahala.
Two other stories here. Killer of ex-Edo governor's mother gets death sentence. Many states would have gone bankrupt without federal government's bailout, says the minister. Those are the big ones on the first news papers today.
All right, let's move from Nigeria to South Africa. And on the front page of the Sowetan this morning, we're seeing the big story here. It says, no regrets for Zondo, not quite the end. Hard slog for justice lies ahead as Zondo hands in final installment of report on shameful period that saw looting of national purse with gay abandon. The details of that's on page 2, 3, and 5. Of course, we know that, South Africa they haven't had it easy with, as regards conversations surrounding corruption. There's lots that we've been talking about. Yesterday we talked about violence, but corruption has been an issue, and the looting of the national purse is one that's been addressed here. Still on the Sowetan front page, on page 13, SA ready to unmask. In case you're wondering what they're ready to unmask, is of course regarding COVID-19. Chiefs wary of dark slide missteps. We also have here box star set for loan move, page 27 in the world of sports. Then, of course, Zanzi teen wows fashion capitals. And final story here, Kaya's family seek divine intervention. That's the final story on page 8. That's all I have in South Africa.
All right, moving away from South Africa to Tanzania now. Let's see what we can find on the Citizen newspapers. It says here, fate of 19 MPs in Speaker's hands after court decision. The special seats MPs last month filed an application requesting approval to challenge Chadema's decision to expel them from the opposition party. But the High Court dismissed the petition yesterday, and that's a story you can find on page 2. National accident, 4 killed, 132 injured in train derailment. And in business, WB moves to tackle Africa food insecurity. Across Africa, Lumumba remains back home in DR Congo. That's also a very, very interesting story to see that his gold tooth was returned to his family after decades after he was killed. And of course, reports say that he was decapitated and his body was put in, melted in some acid. But they finally got his tooth back from the Belgians.
Ooh.
All right, bankers upbeat as mortgage market crosses 500 billion shillings mark. And I think those are the stories that we can share for now on the Citizen this morning in Tanzania. And